Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl Butler, and you're listening to the Mighty Mommy's Quick and Dirty Tips podcast, which will help make your life as a parent a little bit easier and a lot more fun. Welcome! Today's episode is number 361, 5 Ways Storytelling Can Help Your Family Bond. One of my fondest memories of childhood was cuddling with my parents before bedtime, as one of them lulled my siblings and I to sleep with a great story. Some of these bedtime stories were fairy tales that they'd read from a book, but the very best tales were the ones that they'd make up from the heart. To this day, as the mom of 8 kids, I've never forgotten those cozy evenings where my mind would drift off to magical places before a dreamy night of heavenly sleep. It's been said that storytelling is an art that has mental, social, and educational benefits on children. People of all ages love stories. Don't you? Children love great stories and thrive when they listen to them. Storytelling literally means reading out stories to others or just telling a story from memory. Sadly, though, it's really becoming a lost art today because so many busy parents just don't have the time to spend with our kids because of the crazy busy lives we lead between work schedules and home and life. If you want to turn the page on your family's fun quotient, Mighty Mommy has 5 tips to help bring your family closer through the art of creative storytelling. Tip number 1, get cues from a picture book. If you aren't confident in concocting a dreamy fairy tale of your own, grab a simple picture book and feed off the colorful visual cues that await you on every page. My favorite book to launch into a wistful and dramatic bedtime story has always been Goodnight Moon by Margaret Wise Brown. The classic lines read, "In a great green room, tucked away in bed, is a little bunny. Good night, room, good night, moon." As wonderfully and magical as the author's words were, I would recreate this incredible classic by paying tribute to the special things in my own kids' rooms. Some nights I'd make the story super funny and make crazy rhymes out of the cute posters hanging in their bedrooms, or I'd invent adventures for their stuffed animals and favorite dolls to participate in. The key was making the story extremely personable by using their actual toys and cherished bedroom items to take center stage. Sometimes I honestly had no idea where the story would end up, but the look on my kids' faces when they tried to keep their very tired eyes open just long enough to find out what would happen next was absolutely priceless. Tip number 2, don't be boring. Storytelling is more than just reading the words of a story out loud. It takes other skills as well. It's important to use different tones in your voice when you're telling a story. If your voice stays at the same level, it's boring. You need your voice to go higher and lower, and louder and softer. When you're telling your kids a story, you need to picture yourself as one of the characters. Ask yourself questions as you get ready to deliver your tale. Are you meek and mild, or boisterous and full of life? Will you try to deliver a lifelong message, or are you simply trying to stir up a bit of fun for your kids? The reason my siblings and I loved to hear my parents tell a story when we were kids was the way it was delivered. The stories were usually full of zest and zeal, and both of them happened to be teachers. Even if my parents were fabricating the silliest story of all time, we didn't care because their tone was so genuine. One favorite character that I can recall vividly was a little squirrel that lived on the tree next to our bedroom window. He was no ordinary squirrel, mind you. He was also a superhero who watched all the goings-on in our house because he could see everything from that tall branch that overlooked our bedrooms. When we had difficulty falling asleep, that rascal of a squirrel always knew and would come let my parents know we needed a little extra attention that night. When one of us was doing something extra nice for our younger siblings, that super squirrel would let them know, and we would be rewarded the next day completely out of the blue. The tales went on, and to this day, my 4 siblings and I still talk about those magical nights that we listened to our parents tell us these amazing stories. Tip number 3, make it interactive. A great way to start your story is by simply asking your children, what do you want your story to be about tonight? From the very first question, you've gotten them involved in the story. On the other hand, don't be surprised if this question stumps them and they flounder and say, I don't know. When that happens, ask someone to rattle off the first thought that comes to mind. For example, a few weeks ago, my youngest daughter couldn't find a single idea to suggest, so I asked her to name the first animal that came to mind. She immediately shouted out Gansett, which is her pet bunny of the past year. My mind started whirring with all things bunny-related. Carrots, floppy ears, Easter eggs, grazing in lush green meadows. I decided we'd make the story a collaborative effort, so I started with the first sentence. Once upon a time, there was a fuzzy brown bunny named Gansett that lived in Annie Butler's 4th grade classroom. The kids in her classroom were crazy about Gansett, except for one kid in the class. Her name was, and the reason she didn't like Annie's bunny was. This creates a back and forth between you and your child, and by the time the story is done, you'll both be engaged and laughing. This might only go on for about 10 to 15 minutes, but the lasting effect of sharing this time will create lifelong memories for you and your kids. Tip number 4, learn from the professionals. If you want to become better at something, learn from the masters. One great resource for storyteller wannabes is your local library. Check out what's on tap at your favorite library, and you will probably find several storytelling presentations that you can attend with your kids. Now, when you get there, pay close attention to their expression, delivery, and body language. Even if you pick up 1 or 2 small tips to incorporate into your storytelling, you'll be able to expand on the quality moments you spend bonding with your child through the magic of storytelling. And tip number 5, once upon a photo. One of my favorite ways to start a story is to use one of our family photo albums. Even if you don't have an organized album or a scrapbook, grab a few random photos of your family or select them from your smartphone and get started. Show your child the photo and either reminisce about that time that the photo was taken or come up with a completely new adventure using your child and the setting from the photo as the main theme. So, if you have a recent photo from the holiday season that has just passed, you could create a fantasy story similar to the Polar Express or a Christmas Carol by using your own family members and interjecting a new spin on the adventure. The snow was falling quickly, and within a few short hours, it was piled halfway up our front door. The wind was howling, and before long, all the electricity went out. We all cuddled up by the fireplace in our cozy PJs, when all of a sudden there was a knock at the front door. We weren't expecting anyone this late at night, so we looked at Daddy to see what was he going to do. He slowly got up from his comfy chair where he was holding a large bowl of buttery popcorn that all of us were eating, and he slowly went to answer the door. Before he could put his hand on the knob, the entire house began to shake, and the sound of a train whistle got louder and louder. You take it from here. Once you start delivering a few details, your own imagination will go wild, and before you know it, you'll be completely immersed in an exciting tale that you've crafted for your kids, all stemming from looking at 1 or 2 family photos. Honestly, the creative possibilities are endless. What fun ways have you incorporated storytelling into your family's life? Share your thoughts in the comments section at quickanddirtytips.com/mighty-mommy or post your ideas on the Mighty Mommy Facebook page. You can also email me at mommy@quickanddirtytips.com, and I hope you'll visit my family-friendly boards at pinterest.com/mightymommyqdt. And be sure to sign up for the upcoming Mighty Mommy newsletter, which is going to be chock full of super practical advice to make your parenting life easier and a lot more enjoyable. I hope this week will have you start crafting some wonderful stories of your own to share with your kids. As always, thanks for listening, and until next time, happy parenting.